contact!
How deep can you plunge into the darkness?
Through the dark veil of space, time.
I wish we could have joined you sooner.
This is Warp Chatter.
Time is short. There is much to be done.
The wait ends now.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the podcast dedicated to talking about the Horus Heresy Legion's digital card game, Horus Heresy Lore Warhammer 40,000. This is the Warp Chatter podcast. I'm your host, Scuff D, and this is a podcast by players for players. We are here to have all the fun conversations that you can't have anywhere else, or at least listen to. We've got a player joining us today from, I believe, initially from the Reddit. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'm definitely. You'll have definitely picked me up on the Reddit. That's where I'm most active.
All right, that's Blind. Welcome.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys. Glad to be here.
Yes, and then joining us as always is the Crab co-host Axel Manning.
Howdy ho, folks.
Hello. We are. I don't know about you guys. I'm a little. If you guys can't tell, my voice is a little haggard. I got some new medication, and it just has dried me out, and I have been like chugging water all day, and I just cannot get a break. So my throat all feels dry and parched, and it's going to be rough. But you know what?
I know how that feels. The UK is turning into a desert, so we're all in a similar boat over here.
Well, speaking of desert, we're going to talk about the balance patch because it's pretty barren. That's going to be our subject of the evening today. The balance patch that took place at this point, by the time you're hearing this, is probably about 2 weeks ago. We're just getting to it. Last week we had the Q&A with Mr. Everguild on, and we touched on it briefly. If that's what they want to call it as a balance patch, it was changes to things slightly. Like there were words added to cards and words taken away from cards, and some words changed on cards. So technically, that's what it was, but we will get to that shortly and kind of break that down. But before we do, Blind, go ahead and tell us about yourself.
All right. Well, I started playing Horus Heresy Legions maybe a couple of years ago because I was traveling about. I needed something that would run on this old tablet I had with me. And I got hopelessly addicted. I think I've played it every day since and racked up well over 1,000 hours, which is very unusual for me because I'm ADD as anything. And really enjoying it. I love Warhammer. I love Warhammer 40k in particular. I think I picked up a Blood Quest comic when I was like a little kid. Just been absolutely in love with the setting ever since. I've got myself a little Sisters of Battle army, which is probably going to take me another 200 years to finish building and painting. And it's just a fantastic setting because it's grim and dark.
It is. Hey, and the Sisters too. Like I keep asking. There's one store here about an hour away that occasionally will get some 40k stuff in, but it's just like whatever their distributor sends them. So it's like the typical, like here's a paint box, here's a squad of this. Like there's never like a full like range of stuff, and I'm like, Sisters of Battle, please, just get like get me the Hospitalers, and get me like the I forget their little armored, the box that comes with the 3 ones, the kind of little walking night suit type things.
Yeah.
I won't play it, but those models, those models are so cool. They look really good.
They're great. Fantastic sculpts. A little bit monopose across the whole Sisters range, which is a pain for me because I'm always trying to convert them, and I'm finding myself having to hack arms apart with scalpels and things like that now, which is agonizing whenever you get something wrong.
It's a shame too because when I first started playing, Sisters were just an all metal army, and they were monopose then, and then that was the big talk, right? Like plastic Sisters. It was like the daydream. It'll never happen, but it could happen. Yeah. And then we finally get it, and it's like, well, I mean, they're plastic, but yeah, the conversion parts are not as easy as it used to be. You can't convert models the same as you could back in 2005.
But I think it's the detail. Like the detail's so high now. They're well proportioned. There's so much going on. Maybe just so they can copyright the designs a little bit easier, but they look fantastic.
Yeah.
It's not sort of like Lego Man Space Marines anymore. So it's give and take. But yeah, I love these new sculpts. Absolutely love them. If only I could make the arms go up and down.
Just a smidge, just enough to get
Yeah,
a little variety there.
Just a little bit.
Yep.
I can move the heads fine, which is great.
I remember the first time I built my first squad of Space Marines, and yeah, just that like slight movement of each hand arm, like, okay, this guy, you can clearly see he's going to be looking down the barrel of his bolt rifle. This guy over here, maybe he's got it aimed down, he's looking over his shoulder. Like, just that little small things make for a really dynamic squad.
You put a little grenade in the cupped offhand, and you feel like a genius. It's like,
yes.
That guy's going to end up with his own name after a while. He's really special.
Like, oh, this guy gets belt pouches. No one's got that.
Yeah.
Dreadnoughts are pretty easy to pose too because they all have those ball joints.
Yes,
so you can really just do whatever you want.
I really that was my first model that I got was a Dreadnought. My friend gave me that was kind of his, like, he was the dealer. He was like, listen, I'm going to get you to play 40K. I was like, there's no way. Like, I can't do this. Like, just do it. Build this model. And I built the Dreadnought model, and it was the old, like, the 3rd edition box. And I was like, yeah, I can do this. This is fun. Like, it just put together just right, and it looks so good.
That's 3rd edition's where I started. I think I got some of the Dark Eldar half of that. Black Templar's Dark Eldar?
Yes. Yes.
With the cute little plastic palm trees. Such a great set.
I think they were talking about, or did I miss it? I think they were like going to bring that same box set back as like a classic range because they've been doing that lately.
Exactly the same thing.
Yeah, and you're like, well, I mean, that's cool, but the Dark Eldar models have aged very poorly.
Yeah, they're horrific. I've still got one of the Reaver jet bikes. They don't look good.
No, I remember
the biggest problem.
Yeah, they have a unit called Grotesques, and I was like, well, that explains what these are. Like, they were just...
Yeah.
One of their biggest problems, too, was when they first came out, they were just Eldar, but spiky.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of their kit is just Eldar, but spiky.
Well, you got combat drugs on half the units, right? That was it.
True.
But that was it. It wasn't anything else different. It was like,
even their flying units were just normal Eldar, just jump troops, but they had, like, spike wings.
Yeah, just extra bits that you could break off accidentally.
And then they made it so they were actually harpies. So, I mean, that's neat.
Yeah, when they finally redid the Dark Eldar, I was going to say Dark Angels, but when they finally did the Dark Eldar Codex in 6th, was it 6th or 7th? It was like, that was my first time to actually, like, dive into the lore, and I really liked how they redid the whole line, and they really went into the Kimura and the gangs and the different, lords and on top of that, like, there was so many ways to do an army. It wasn't just like, well, here's this troop. It was like, well, there's like these troop units, but if you take this type of lord, you get these as troop units, and then you could be like, all right, cool, we're gonna have goblin gliders. All right, cool, we're gonna have mutated harpies. We're gonna have a bunch of beasts. Like, that was a really fun codex. I didn't play them at all. I read it, and in my mind and on pieces of paper, I wrote tons of army lists. I just never played it. That was like the peak of my, like, 40K nerd. Was like, I would just, like, dream list, like, all right, 2,000 points. What can I come up with?
Yeah,
that's what a forever DM does as well. What character can I make? Right.
One day I'll get to play this.
Oh, I have like 10 of them just sitting by. I'll never play them.
No,
but I have so many characters.
It's the dream. It's the dream.
Once a DM, forever a DM.
So what set was it that when you first started playing was?
Oh, I think I picked up. I bought some Reaver jet bikes. I picked up some, and then I sort of transitioned into Eldar because they just support in 3rd edition. Yeah. I've never played it properly at all. I played more games of Blood Bowl than Warhammer. I mainly just love converting models and then trying not to ruin them while painting them. Okay. So I'm very much into my green stuff.
Well, that's a big part of the hobby. I mean, that's it. You don't have to play the game, or you can play bits and pieces of the game. It took me a long time to realize that. Like, I was like, oh, you got to have a whole army, and it's like, nah, you know what? You don't. Just if you like this model, get it.
And even if you don't want to buy a bunch of models, Kill Team exists.
Yes. Yeah. Back in the day, there was no Kill Team, and it was just a dream. And I'm so glad that they really dove into it more than just like an alternative, like rule set that was in White Dwarf.
Yeah, especially with the
Crazy support.
what was it, Kill Team 2.0 that came out or is coming out? I haven't watched much of actual 40k. I'm mainly following the Horus Heresy right now.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be. They're going into like the Mortis, like Space Hulky, So they're going to go with that terrain, and I think there's going to be like several box sets from what I've seen that are like interconnecting terrain pieces. But instead of doing, battlefields or camps or whatever, you're doing halls and corridors of Space Hulk. So that could be pretty cool.
I think that was our first plastic Imperial Navy soldiers. Am I right?
Yes, yes.
And that was pretty great, and some crew support, which was incredible.
Finally, like, the Kroot have been gone. It's like, what happened to the Kroot? Like, they were kind of really the workhorse of Tau for the longest time, and then Tau, like, what happened to Vespid? Like, are we ever going to see them again?
No,
I think they're probably still for sale.
They're somewhere.
I'm honestly surprised we got new Kroot models.
Yeah. Yep.
Then again, they brought squats back, so I guess 2020, 2022 is the year of surprises.
Yeah, this is like, what do people want? They want squats.
I'm not going to complain. Not the devs, I guess devs proper term. The GW is just adding what people have asked, but it does seem weird that we're getting it. So I feel like the end times is coming.
Yeah, well, that could be. You never know. I mean, we are getting Primarchs now in 40k. Angron, right, is the new one. So
yeah, he looks great.
Yeah.
Angron's here. Lorgar's being teased in every single Chaos book since the 7th edition.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, every time they mention the word bearers, they casually put a little sentence there that says Lorgar has been seen leading them since 7e. So everyone's like, all right, so where is he? And then they got, of course, Lion is awake. Well, not awake. He's healed.
I've got some very specific wants for Lionel Johnson. I think it's time for an Imperial Civil War. There's so many Imperial factions. We need to start fighting each other.
Well, to be fair, there's so many other factions too. It's just they forgot about them. Like, whatever happened to the Blood Pack? Where's the Blood Pack at? How many people actually remember the Blood Pack exists?
I don't remember the Blood Pack exists at all.
The Blood Pack were the Chaos Warband that just fought like the Imperial Guard.
Oh.
And they're the main threat in the Sabbath Crusade. And they had really cool models and like metal helmets and shit. They were sick, but they were kind of forgotten about.
Yeah, they've disappeared.
If it's not Dan Abnett, you'll never hear about it, and they won't get models. So
yeah, I wonder if he's ever going to do a squat book. I hope not. Honestly, I think he's better than that.
You never know. That'd be fun with that sort of like weighty prose about like squat formations. Just really, really dry.
The only thing Abnett will write is like introduction books, or it's like, you don't know what the lore is, you're starting for the first time ever, here's a rundown on how the Inquisition functions.
Yeah, he does a really good job as far as flushing that stuff out and like just
I really love that. I think which one did he write? Betrayal, like the Calf book.
Yeah, he wrote a lot of them.
He wrote No Fear, which kicked off basically he basically set up like the Sons of Horus, right? Because the very Horus Rising. Then you had the next one he did was Prospero Burns, which was like here's 30k Space Wolves, which is such a weird like jump from what 40k Space Wolves are now. But he basically established the whole framework of how the 30k Space Wolves operate. Then he did the 40k
Space Wolves defense.
Yeah.
It is only on the tabletop rule-wise where they're like that. Any book that has them, they're fine unless the book is purely from their point of view, and then it's not fine.
Right. And then
like look at Emperor's Gift.
I didn't read that one. I think the William King Space Wolf books, as old as they are, were okay.
They're good. Emperor's Gift, if it's the one I'm thinking of where it's Hyperion is the main character. First off, written by Aaron Dembski-Bowden, and the main character is a Dan Abnett character from the Eisenhorn series. Do you read Ravenor at all, Scuff?
I did. I read the Ravenor trilogy. Yeah.
Remember that psychic child?
Yeah.
Who the ending slide was he got sent to the Inquisition? He became a Grey Knight.
Oh, interesting.
And he became the Grey Knight Hyperion, or Hyperius, I forget his name. And he's one of the strongest Grey Knights, and he was a guy who sent Angron to the no-no corner
Oh, okay. So he was responsible for banishing Agron.
Yeah, on Armageddon. Well, he was one of them.
You can thank Ravner for that, then technically,
I guess. But yeah, no, that book's great because it has the Space Wolf chapter master cut off the head of the Grey Knight chapter master, and also Sprint and Terminator armor at like Mach 4.
That seems a little heretical.
Yeah. Just a tad.
I mean, to be fair, the entire plot of the book was a civil war brewing between the Space Wolves and the Imperium.
See, that sounds great.
Fun book in case no one's ever read it or heard of those events. Without spoilers, the Inquisition wanted to kill some civilians, and the Space Wolves weren't about that. So civil war breaks out for a very short period of time. And then Bjorn the Fell-Handed hits on an Inquisitor for some reason, and then just teleports away.
Oh, wow.
Gotta have Bjorn show up and just so you know that he's still around.
Well, he shows up as like an intermediary because people are arguing. And he just walks in the room and says, "You're both acting like children. Fuck off. I'm going back to sleep." And then he just hits on an Inquisitor on his way out and just leaves.
He's one of those really creepy old guys. Doesn't know when to quit.
Right.
He's great. Bjorn is one of the best characters. Bjorn. Shame he was done dirty in game.
Yeah, I don't think people try him out. I think I just did a video for him today or yesterday for Bjorn, and I had a lot of fun with him. But some people just like get hung up on the Space Wolf pack, must pack. You're like, well, you cannot pack and do okay with them too.
It'd be nice if Warlord ability could trigger pack. That'd be interesting.
That would be
could
cool.
Be potentially.
You'd have to change Eager though, I think. Yeah,
you would have to adjust some stats. I would like to see a complete Space Wolf change, just functionality. Because when they first came out, they were fine, but the game's aged, and they're not the same as they once were, and they're a problematic faction.
Well,
they're not great, unless they are. And then they're too great.
Is just it's a mechanic. When it works in your favor, it works, and when it doesn't do much except kind of just keeps them, at the level.
Alive a little longer.
Yeah, they can't excel with it. But talking about, I guess, changes to factions
done dirty
weren't excelling. We're going to take a look here at the balance patch.
I guess we got to start from the top with the most substantial changes, which is an entire faction.
Yeah. I mean, technically, it's
not a full faction, but it's like
it's the Dark Angels, but it's not really the faction. Like, I mean, they basically just did a couple minor tweaks here that really brought them in line with the Titans existing. Aside from the Secret of War, right? Secret of War,
that was necessary.
Yes, like new missions exist. Like Secret of War is a terrible card. Secret of War gets reduced.
It's still
to
not
1.
played.
No, it's still if you're doing it, you're doing it to do it for fun. Scions of the Dark Angels mission itself got lowered by 1 pip to trigger, so they just try to improve Dark Angel missions altogether. Sergeant Bellion, as well as Knight Praetor Ramiel, basically just got the ability to cause damage to non-warlord enemies as opposed to troops, so now they can actually damage Titan arms and Titan weapons.
It's useful.
Proctor Ineus gained frontline, which actually is not a bad change. That's pretty good, and it helps with him being Deathwing. It helps with Quest as a possibility. Invincible Reason lowered the cost from 10 to 8 to make it, playable. The biggest change, honestly, was Deathwing Companions, where they got frontline shield, and then instead of just a passive +2/+2 to troops you put in play, now it's a quest. You give +2/+2 to your other troops.
Okay, so the Deathwing Companions is a controversial change, because you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah, some people don't like it.
I like the change simply because if you can't remove a Deathwing Companion, it's snowballing to hell, and that's just not fun. This version is harder to remove, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to get a tactic used on you.
Right.
So when you do remove it, it's just going to trigger the quest.
Yep. Yeah, the only tactic that will not trigger the quest is sabotage. Like if you jam it, and that's it.
And realistically, why are you jamming that thing?
Yeah, you're just getting past the front line, I guess, if that's all you need. But I mean, you're not going to change the fact that it's an 8/8 body.
Yeah, it's still a giant threat on the board, and you're not going to change that by simply removing its frontline and quest. No, I'm honestly happy with the changes here. I mean, you can't really call any of them bad except the Deathwing Companion, and then an argument can happen, and then it just boils down to your opinion. I mean, that's my take on it. It was a good change. Deathwing Companions. It's no longer that snowball hell that everyone's used to, while still being viable. That's
Dark Angels definitely still have a really, really strong late game as well, so it's not exactly sort of hitting them where it hurts.
Well, a problem with Dark Angels is that's all they have.
Yeah.
Well, Decor turn 1 will always be the perfect drop, but since the Core Sway meta ended those months ago, they haven't been doing that hot. They kind of just exist.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have much Warlord options. Red Loss doesn't exist. I'm excited because they mined a new Warlord. I don't know if you guys have heard of this.
No, I haven't.
The next Warlord, well, I say next, they have a Raven Wing Warlord planned.
Okay.
He's the chapter master of the Raven. I don't follow the Dark Angels that much, so I don't know his name off the top of my head, but he's being mined. They also mined 2 new Titan chassis, not including the ones we have in the event right now. And they mined I might as well just pull up the list, because they mined like 5 Warlords in total.
I think they had knights in there, right? Didn't they have a knight pilot?
Yes, they had a knight pilot, who was, I think, what was the planet called? Davin? Davin. Yeah, it's the House of Knights on Davin, which had a House of Knights apparently.
Interesting.
Where was it? Trying to find it. So yeah, the Trader Titans will get an Iconoclast Titan.
Yep.
It's new Agent of Sigilate Warlord as well. It's the Night Lord guy whose name is escaping me, like Cal something. Cal Zerost. He's the guy that Kurz told to fuck off, and then he went to Terra. That guy, in case anyone remembers him.
I don't. But I'm always happy about a new Sigilite Warlord.
His name is... Fel Zerost. He was the chief librarian of the Night Lords, and then, Kurz is the prick, so he left. Yeah, so look forward to that. We may actually get, a better Agent of Sigilate Warlord, because let's be real here, all 3 of those factions don't have great alternative warlords.
No. They
need
a good one, Iapo is terrible.
Iapo, that was his name.
Iapo is don't get me started.
He's genuinely... his ability is unique, and I really like the idea of, I don't want this card, I want to switch, but in every way, shape, or form, draw is better.
Yeah. And on top of that, for the cost for what you're not... If it was take 1, shuffle it in, draw 2, all right, cool, you get a draw, you're giving up the chance of having something in your hand, but you've got a better hand filter, but you're literally
that would be the best way to balance
wasting time. Yeah.
Or they could have just made it 0, swap out a card. It's I don't want this card. Give me a different card.
Right.
But no, that's not what we got.
Nope. Well, then on top of that, you're not doing anything else. You're not attacking. You're not causing damage. You're doing nothing.
You're just switching out your cards. And then the Night Warlord was just, I am the exact same thing that the Agent Sigilate just got. They're one of the many gain frontline warlords.
Okay.
You remember? Well, do you remember the original Night Warlord that we almost got
from House Divine?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he was not great. This one will be this one is Albert Divine, Albard, and
the Big Daddy.
He shouldn't. Hopefully, he doesn't just give himself frontline like the other one and does something unique. I honestly don't know if they could give a pilot at this point, but something unique. And then Commander of the Raven Wing. No idea what he's going to do.
Unstoppable, maybe?
They're all about bikes, less so flying.
Oh, yeah, because we've only got for 1 jetpack in 40k. So they'll have a few, not many.
No, they'll have plenty. 30k was when they used to have a shit ton of jet bikes. So
surely they're mainly blown up by the time you get to Siege.
To an extent, but also not really. Also, we also can't really use that logic in this game for balancing, where it's by this event, because the Thousand Suns don't have Rubicon Marines.
Yeah.
And they're also, together.
You can still play Lunar Wolf Horus as well, which kind of...
Yeah. So that's why it's you gotta look at that point. But yeah, they have options there, and I'm hoping that these guys come out nice. And then there's just Titans. We can ignore the Titans. There's a Titan event going on, folks. Psy Titan will lose. Psy Titan's not even in it as a playable choice. So take that as you will. And by the time you hear this, he will be added as a reinforcement tomorrow, where you can play him to guarantee he won't be added. Because this is our event system, and still since launch. Yep, that is the actual tangent of this episode. I think we said all we need to say about the Dark Angel change, yeah?
Yeah, I don't have anything to say, honestly. I feel like...
It's just happened.
Here it is. It didn't do anything crazy. It didn't change anything with quests. It didn't make new quests. It didn't really do anything. The biggest changes are missions are a little bit more playable if you want to try out a mission. Like, that's it. I know Invincible Reason being lowered to 8, that's something, and it's playable. That's great.
Yeah, it's better now.
But it doesn't do anything else to what you're playing, so you still have to have your troops in hand. You still have to choose what troops you're building in your deck and how you're going to combo that. And you can't, because it's Astartes, you can't fall back on the classic Hexagrammaton necessarily, because there's a vehicle involved in that. But you could still throw down some fat, three Astartes and get more for your money. But there's really only a couple with rally effects. So
Invincible Reason is a good example of why Dreadnoughts need to also have a code tag to have Astartes on it.
That'd be incredible.
Because there's really no reason for them not to. Because tabletop-wise, they also have the Astartes code rule, because obviously. And I feel like there's 10 new combos that just instantly open up, minimum, the minute you add Astartes to a Dreadnought.
Mm-hmm. Salamanders get crazy.
Salamanders get a bunch of dumb shit they can do that would be funny. The Word Bearers can suddenly use Kalim. I had to add that in there because, my boy. There's a bunch of stuff that just suddenly becomes possible, but will never, because the archaic system of vehicle structure infantry Astartes is what we have.
Don't forget Demons and Custodes.
Yeah. Demons deserve one, but Custodes don't. Because they are Astartes in everything but name.
It's interesting because, the Custodes with their mission have got Custodes. It doesn't say Custodes troop, it just says Custodes. And it works with their vehicles.
It just means a faction. Yeah. I don't know why that can be done for more factions, where it's like, any faction that has a good even mix of vehicle and Astartes deserves that. Mm-hmm. And I'm just bound to bring them up constantly. The Word Bearer faction has 3 vehicles in it. I think 4 now. So it kind of makes sense that their vehicles don't get any love. But then you cut to a faction like the Dark Angels, and they have 6 vehicles, and at least 4 of those are I want them in my deck. Mm-hmm. So I don't know why there's so much cards that just don't work on them.
Yeah, and if you got them in your deck, then you have to look at your Astartes buff cards. You're like, well, do I have enough to make value of this or not?
And it doesn't even make sense from a logic perspective, because it's what is piloting this vehicle if not an Astartes? Even in modern 40k, what pilots an Astartes vehicle? An Astartes.
Well, that goes to, for me, the whole thing about having secret orders work on vehicles, because they don't currently, yeah. But there's so many lore excerpts. There's a whole novella in Talern about the Alpha Legion using secret orders to mess up the Imperial Army lines and vehicles.
You can't name a single legitimate reason for why none of vehicles can get it, structures can get it, demons can get it, Custodes can get it. There's no reason why any of those don't deserve secret orders. Custodes can use secret orders now that I think about it. Yeah, there's no actual lore reason why structures can't have a secret order. What pilots a structure? People?
Yeah. Yep.
What pilots a vehicle? Oh, it's a machine spirit? Those things are corruptible as all hell.
Yeah, it's overtly corruptible.
The machine spirits are just waiting to turn on you.
I think if you send a right bit of white noise to a machine spirit, it'll turn on its master.
A demon, they're demons. It's in their name. They'll switch sides. They don't care. So yeah, I just don't understand why. I understand from a balancing point, but it's kind of silly. Mm-hmm. Give me some love.
Yeah. Well, moving on with the rest of the balance patch, we get a few more cards here for a couple things. We get the Emperor's Children. Eidichin Squad can no longer stun or damage a warlord. It can just deal 2 damage to a non-warlord enemy, and then perfection stuns. The Mycilus jet bikes, their health went up to 4 again. It used to be 4 way back in the day. But they no longer have fast. They are now flank. Ruinstorm, they changed the Great Unclean One to, instead of whenever a troop dies, now it's just whenever an enemy dies. It heals completely, gains +1/+1. Orphans of War Plan Strike, its cost was increased to 4. Sisters of Silence, the Silent Sisterhood mission, lowered the requirement by 1 energy, so now at 4 you can get it off. And the Traitor Legios, the Power Claw, the ability to unlock or give it, take away the counterattack, has been increased from 2 to 3. And that is it. It
really is it.
That was it.
Honestly, wasn't much.
No.
I mean, there's definitely good changes in here. That's undeniable. It's just, there wasn't a lot of them. Plan Strike, I mean, it didn't slow my deck down at all. It's annoying. I'm no longer playing it at 3 energy curve, but they gave us Veteran Marauders to play on 3 energy curve, so I'll just keep playing them. That's cool. Great Unclean One doesn't fix its actual problem, so that's something, I guess.
I like the Great
I don't know how they would
Unclean One.
bounce.
I think it's just right, honestly.
I like it, but my issue is how mutations work. When it gets Ward,
once you get Ward or Survivor, boom, you're on, baby.
Yeah, it's absurd once it gets a few extra bits and pieces on it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my biggest problem with it, though, is if I put 1 mutation on it, you can no longer remove it. Because Ward means, unless I'm playing a random jam card, which is almost always a troop.
You gotta play. You gotta play the Iron Hands.
I'm not playing the Iron Hands.
Do it.
I don't hate myself. That's a key problem here. That's a requirement to become an Iron Hand player.
I think it's a requirement to be an Iron Hand as well.
Yeah, well, you gotta hate some of your body.
Yep. You just have to be like, I disgust myself.
You gotta be willing to chop off an arm for really no net gain.
No. Like, well, the biotics didn't take after we got rid of your completely workable and healthy arm, so now you have a slightly workable hydraulic piston pressure system device. Thanks.
You're now prone to rust and EMPs.
Right.
Well, to be fair, they're not prone to rust. At least not in 40k. They are prone to not having hands anymore and being miserable about it, though.
Yeah. I've definitely got a complaint about the Sisters mission. I think they might have missed the obvious buff there.
I'm more just surprised they did anything to the Sisters mission before all the other missions. Like, Word Bearers still have an unplayable mission.
They haven't touched the Word Bearers mission at all. At all.
They haven't touched any of the new Word Bearer cards that are all unplayable.
Actually got a Kelbor Hal, not Kelbor Hal. Who's our Corferin?
Yes.
Corferin. I do have a mission deck for him that I really, really like playing. It's not necessarily good, but just a few zero-cost infantry lurking in there, so I can proc it a bit quicker. And it is a lot of fun, to be fair.
I mean, I would just recommend running the Chaos mission, because the Word Bearer mission is just a downside. It's the only mission that's a detriment to activate.
If you can get off Book of Lorgar before you get a mission reward, it's fantastic. But that will maybe happen.
Well, that's the problem. Even putting Book of Lorgar in your deck is a 9 out of 10 times wasted card slot, because it doesn't do anything either. It's going to give you Screamers and Nurglings, and now what?
Well, you just got to hope that the other guy plays something that sort of totally breaks their flow as well, and then everything's fine.
Yeah, if my opponent plays Mantle of Ultramar the same turn I played Book of Lorgar, I have a chance.
Yeah,
exactly.
Side by side, it's like, come on. Forget about it.
It's fitting, but it's still not good.
I like how it's the Book of Lorgar, and really nobody reads it. Like, nobody needs it. Nobody benefits from it at all. Like, even Lorgar, he's like, I already know that. I wrote it. Not a problem.
Yeah, no, none of their warlords actually benefit, because Rom has no demon synergy. Argel Tal has no demon synergy. Zardu Lilac has demon host synergy. Corferon has no demon synergy. The only one who has demon synergy is Lorgar, but he has a reduction to maintenance built in. Yeah. And when he transforms, it becomes 0 maintenance.
Right, exactly.
And the only time I love any faction that has a legendary card that is pointless on a warlord because they just gain that ability.
Say that again, though. Make sure you let Everguild know so they make more of those.
You're right. We need a card, like, they need to add a legendary to the Night Lords that just give them sneak attack, so Conrad Curtis can play that and then transform, and then nothing changes.
But that's the problem with this Sisters mission reward, is that it lets you trigger the rally of a troop twice, but it doesn't let you trigger any targeted rally twice. So that's so many cards it does absolutely nothing for. Like,
to be fair, I think I know why that doesn't happen, because I don't think Everguild knows how to code that.
Yeah, it would be a nightmare. It would be a nightmare to code, but it's so anemic. Like, you've got stuns, you've got can't attack things, and Ambassador Melgator would be fantastic if you could throw him in late game and take 2 things off the board. And it just, there's no way of doing it. You're left with 2 damage across the board instead of 1 on the free drop that pings.
Right.
It just doesn't really do anything.
No, your best bet is with like a couple of like neutrals, like cannons, mortars is all right. That's cool.
I know that would be fantastic. That's a really good idea.
That's not too shabby. There's a couple others, like maybe the I'd have to really like you can't get Melgator because that's a targeted one, so you can't do that.
Yeah, Melgator doesn't work at all.
You could get it's really weak. I wouldn't do it, but the little Zainai, the guy who makes the Mechadendrite as a rally, get 2 Mechadendrites. I mean, there are little things about it, but like the sisters themselves, they've got some great rally stuff. But like you said, yeah, they're targeted.
I mean, it's kind of okay because sisters are so much sort of fun and pretty strong without a mission, so it's not too painful. But I do think it's going to get reworked at some point.
Well, we wanted reworks for missions for a while, and most of the Galaxy and Flames missions, I'd say half of them are unplayable.
Yeah.
And they haven't been touched. Night Lords. Oh, Night Lords are a good example. That mission does nothing for 2 of their warlords, and the other 2 don't want it either. Now what?
Not enough people asked. Actually, when I say not enough, I mean like nobody asked about missions with the last Q&A. Like they just, I think, generally either the people were so focused on Titans and how, I mean, there was a lot of Titan questions, or we've just accepted that there's just a bunch of crap missions.
Because, like, okay, Word Bearers have an unplayable one. I mean, that's known. I'm trying to think of all the unplayable ones.
Salamanders, Death Guard, Imperial Fists.
Salamanders is nightmarish to get working.
Yeah.
Imperial Fist is a really good one, but it's impossible to activate, so what now?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of them, but I feel like it'd be easier if I just listed the good ones and then we just ignored.
It's far easier to list the good ones. It's like, I like Ultramarines, I like White Scars, but it's not great all the time.
White Scars, Raven Guard, Ultramarines. Those are the best missions. If the mission I listed that was from GIF is not one of those 3, it is a bad mission.
Yeah.
That is how that works. Fucking Blood Angels. You gotta do a lot to get that mission off, where at that point, the Requiems you're triggering are win the game Requiems. Like, if you can trigger what is he called? Angel's Tears?
Yep.
You can trigger his Requiem 4 times, you've already won.
Yeah.
You're just bullying the guy at that point, which,
Emperor's Children's missions is absolutely bizarre. It's so specific, and then the reward is so specific.
Yes.
Like, it's...
my biggest problem is how it's damage in combat and not just damage in general.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I mentioned this previously. The GIF expansion, the cards they got, it feels like it was how do I phrase this? It was originally going to be any damage source, because there's a card that pings 3 times, heal 1. Why would that card exist if not to ping your own troop 3 times, heal it by 1, and give it 3 marks of chaos?
Which would be a really fun way of kind of like playing around that mechanic.
Yes, but we didn't get that. Instead, we got something you'll never see activate, because in most good Emperor's Children decks, half your deck's vehicles, at least not anymore, but now they say that in hindsight. And the ones that aren't, well, you don't want the mission anyways, because Fulgrim's using his ability turn 1. Bio has his setup. His setup can't really be done if he's wasting his energy playing a useless mission. Lucius doesn't care about his troops sticking to the board for longer than 30 seconds.
Yeah, like, I would have thought, like, looking at it for a split second, you'd think, it gives you a little bit of extra damage towards the end, makes your stuff a bit bigger. Surely that'll be good for Lucius, but no, he doesn't need it. It's the least useful thing for him. He's too busy killing people to want to hang around for this like really minor reward.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. No. The entire mission reads as a we didn't know what we wanted to do, especially when it came out with other really strong missions for other factions. Sons of Horus got a good one. I mean, It's easy to proc if you're playing Mar.
Yeah, that seems a bit. It's like just for Mar to a certain extent.
Well, I'd say I would agree if not for the fact that they have like 4 different troops that just gain a mark of chaos. It is, and what is it called? A muster to treachery is still a good combo.
Yeah.
So there's options there, which is nice to see. And then there's other missions that aren't. And I'm surprised this balance patch. This is the first balance patch that touched missions in a while. And the missions it touched was Sisters of Silence.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I feel like this is the second or third balance patch that just feels like just a miss. Like Dark Angels.
Who was this for?
Why? Like we did. Like it felt like they were going to change Romuel and Bellion to deal with Titans, and then they're like, well, while we're at it, I guess we should do a few more cards of Dark Angels. What else could we do here?
Like something important you got to ask yourself whenever a balance patch comes out or something like that is you got to ask, who is this for?
Yeah.
And I look at this and I ask myself, who is this for? And I can't answer it. The Emperor's Children nerf, you could say that's for everyone, but it did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
It made the other ones worse without really affecting Lucius enough.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't touch Lucius. Emperor's Children already have a really solid flank for 5 energy. Like I mean, I personally think those 2 used to be maybe the 2 best 4 energy cards in the game. I loved them, but maybe they needed a nerf. But now they're just kind of like, they're functionless against certain kinds of decks, and so they're really unappealing now.
Yep.
And then the Runestorm change was nothing really. It didn't change how great Unclean One functioned. Most people weren't using their own troops to buff it. Orphans of War, Plan Strike wasn't the big problem. It's Kareen. It's Kareen and the mission itself, which I honestly don't think the mission needs a nerf. I just think Kareen needs to be made different.
You think, what if the mission just cost 1 extra?
Like it just had a flat 1 energy cost?
No.
I would be fine with that.
It costs 1 more to achieve. Yeah.
I mean, that could be fine too. I heard a lot of people suggest Kareen should instead function on copy on kill.
That would be interesting.
Which, I mean, it would make sense. It's weird that he's robbing people who are alive, specifically. And then, I guess, this silence doesn't really matter. And the Power Claw. I don't even think we talked about that. I think we mentioned it for a split second, we just forgot about it. But the energy went up by 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Why does that change? They're still going to use it.
Nothing else about all the rest of the other tools that they've been using in conjunction with it, or the speed, the fact that you just double Power Claw, and yeah.
The funniest part about that is, it's now 1 energy more expensive. What does that change though?
Right.
He has to. He's still going to unstun it, or remove counterattack or counterattack. Can't attack. Yeah. It's going to happen every time. They're not going to suddenly, oh man, it costs 1 more time to unequip my Power Claw.
Right.
Like, even Plan Strike. Did any Orphan of War player remove Plan Strike from their deck after this change? Genuinely, I want to hear that answer. Because I didn't. I'm still going to play it. It's a draw and a cost reduce. And because it's all the cards in my hand, if I play it a turn later, I have more troops to reduce the cost of. This entire balance patch was just a miss. It was for no one.
Yeah, if I had to rate this out of 10, honestly, even though by definition they change things and some things are clearly better than others, right? Like you can't argue that a cost lowering is a bad thing especially for some cards. It's just like the mission, the secret mission for the Dark Angels or whatnot. But the fact that it is not cards that shake up anything. The only 2 cards that really shook up anything were the Emperor's Children changes, and really they shook it up for the wrong warlords. I feel like I'd rate this like a 3 out of 10. Like,
no, I would agree.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I think we're all in the consensus of 3 out of 10, and the only reason it's not a 1 is because the Dark Angels got arguably buffed. Right? You can argue about Deathwing Companion, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sisters of Silence got a buff, and that's why it's not a 1. It's the only reason.
That's it. I don't disagree. I mean, I just feel like, and even then, like I wouldn't call a change to how anything works at all. Like the only thing that technically changed, even though Eidolon and Mycilus like actually did change, like it doesn't matter. The Emperor Shouldn't are just going to drop stuff. They're going to hit you. Is the Deathwing Companions? I mean, technically, there's a change.
It's the biggest thing because the rest of them were here's a keyword, or we program the ability to work like how it should have worked.
Yeah. I mean, a Deathwing Companions having Quest is another tool for a Lion Reckoning deck. You know, I mean, it's another quest that can trigger and lower your Deathwing protocols. You know, yep.
The 3 people running a Lion Mission deck or Lion Reckoning deck, sorry, now have a tool for it.
Now it's just one little extra pip. You know, it's possible, but yeah. And on top of that, like, I don't recall anybody being like, "Oh man, Dark Angels, when will they ever get played again?" Like,
I mean, most of us still have PTSD from the Coursewayne meta. It wasn't a good one. I saw a great thing the other day, and someone's like, "Have Dark Angels ever been good?" And someone's like, "No, they've been mundane since release." I'm like, "Have everyone forgot about the 4 months where Coursewayne was king?"
They totally did.
Did we just blink? Because I guess Knights came out right afterwards, and they were the hotness. But the thing was, they were the hotness, Coursewayne was their counter.
Well, on top of that, like Khorne's Favor, like it was another tool for Cornswing, but it was also a tool for a lot of other aggro decks. So people were like, like he just kind of he got like lumped in and mixed in, but it was like, I don't know, that's still a pretty lethal reach. You know, like you could pick Orders from Terra, or you could pick, you know, Khorne's Favor, and then you've got his special card, which is never out of style.
Yeah, there was a bunch of things, and people just, I guess, forgot about that meta. I don't know why. And then Eschaton Imperative, is that the name of that card?
Yeah, Eschaton.
Where it used to reduce all your cards. That was just a thing it did.
Those were the days. Just like
I feel like
Eschaton, and then suddenly all your troops are like 2.
Yeah, it was crazy, and I feel like a lot of people also forgot the amount of people who'd complain about Operator Decor simply because someone played it.
Yeah. First turn. First turn Decor. Oh no.
I mean, I won't disagree. It is turn one of the most annoying turn ones to get hit with. But that's simply because it's an overstated card by the game's own definition, which they slowly stopped caring about. Round, I want to say Prospero, that does a lot, and it's like, sure, okay, but then Coursewayne just takes it up to 11 because he's a self buffer, a la Lucius, Sanct, and Ron, I guess, are maybe
technically.
Hey kids, remember when Ron used to discard a card?
It was a new thing. It was unique. I would like to see it back again. Change the cost or change the buff, but like that was an interesting concept.
I had forgot they did that. So when I faced Ron in an event and he had no cards in his hand and he used his ability, I was very confused.
You're like, wait a minute.
So I remember they just.
The only downside to that was the timing for the card to be discarded and the buff added. It took a while. It was a little weird. It was a little disjointed, but it wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
So, in general, we're looking at the balance patch here where thumbs down. Thumbs down, guys.
Yeah, no. I can't even tell my Dark Angel friends, look at these changes you guys got, because it's like, oh, one of my troops gained frontline. And that legendary I don't play I'm still not going to play, and then my companions got changed. And I'm like, yep, that's it.
That's it.
This is what you wanted. You know, the thing no one asked for. So I guess that's our entire takes on the matter.
I can't. Here's the thing. By the time people are hearing this, we should be 3/4 through the month. We've dealt with this balance patch, or we basically continue doing what we were doing last month. Maybe there's a couple people playing Dark Angels as a result.
Maybe. At most, there's 2 new Dark Angel
There's
players.
things to look forward to, I guess, in the fact that, with another month and more data, that should show the same thing, we'll probably get something else. But what's it going to be? Because here's the thing. The last couple of balance patches, like I said, I feel like they've been missing the mark. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if they're looking at the wrong thing, or they're trying to just, there's too many cards for them to get to. And they want to patch stuff that nobody's talking about, but at the same time, there's still very relevant things to patch. They can't always patch at the top. if they always patch at the top, then all they'll be it's just reactive patching. So it's nice to patch things that you weren't expecting to get to the top. None of these things will make something that you weren't expecting get to the top. Not even the Sisters of Silence mission.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, when they've done reworks, we're like, oh, wow, like Marks of Chaos change. Wow, that's cool. Or, like, a big change for the Thousand Suns, and Salamanders, Teachings, like, things that you didn't expect, but came out and actually, like, wow, this is actually different now. You know, like, none of this is...
Like Night Lords.
Yeah.
I remember when Night Lords got completely changed and everyone yelled it was a nerf, and then GIF came out like a week later, and then Night Lords were cracked.
Right. And then suddenly it was like, oh, it was like they knew what cards they were going to add when they did this.
Exact same scenario. And I mean, a 1-to-1 happened with the Thousand Suns, where everyone's like, but now I have to play my troops. I don't like that.
Right. Well,
and then exactly like GIF came out. It's like, here's why you want to play with your troops. And everyone's like, oh,
yeah.
This is the game.
Well, it's like Frontal Assault, right? Remember how many people were like, why does it cost more? This is crazy. It's like, no, just wait 2 weeks. You'll see.
Yeah, it's almost like the devs know the next card's being added to the game because they're the guys who added it to the game.
They knew what was in the pipeworks, and they're probably like, you know what? We should probably put some pieces ahead of time so people are ready for this. Or there's,
and then they made the Word Bearers.
The Word Bearers is the one where it felt like they didn't even... They're just like, I don't know, do some zealots and do some troops and sacrifice something? I don't know.
Cultists popping up everywhere. It's thematic, at least.
Yeah. I think you're better off running almost a cultist Word Bearers with like a 4 or 5 actual Astartes, which is just thematic, right? Like you can do an army that way.
Yeah, and I mean, which is funny because their tabletop army is similar, but not really in Heresy because it's mainly demons you want to use. And then Runestorm came out with all the demon support. You're like, oh,
yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Their faction, GIF hurt me on some parts. That's one of them. If I can look at a faction after GIF came out and I can say I don't see what they did, that's not good. What Night Lords get, they got a really good vehicle. They got a really good 3-drop. They got borrowed power. I'm not saying you should play borrowed power. I'm just telling you they got it. And that was nice. And then you look at a faction and they got no troops that can be played, no tactics that can be played. And then you look at stuff like Runestorm, who got Great Unclean One, Malign Presence. That are they called Bloodsworn? The 4/4.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I think that's true. The with the Berserk, yeah.
Yeah, they're a neat 1-turn kill. You can do some fun things with them in Malign if it sticks.
Yep.
And I like that. Or even if you got a I can't remember demon names to save my life, but the 2/4 that generates marks.
Yes.
Mutations. Him and Bloodsworn. Yeah, him and Bloodsworn. They go crazy together. Yeah, I guess balance patch disappointing. Not much more to say.
No, that's it. Moving on. I mean, when you're not being disappointed by the balance patch and playing Legions, what is it that you're doing?
But yeah, it is funny that they don't seem to be targeting what players think is oppressive. Like, I'm really surprised Lucius didn't take a bit of a knock. I mean, he's been just tearing it up from Mars to High Terror for ages now.
They could just bump him right back to 30 health, and he'd be right fine. You could still do him, but it'd be a little bit trickier.
I feel like his biggest problem was no one was trying, and once everyone saw him buff, they started trying.
Once they realized, like, oh, I don't have to try. That was the thing. It wasn't a matter that they weren't trying; they just didn't want to try. There's a big difference with that.
That's what I mean.
That's half of the top meta decks. Is it's stuff that you don't have to try. You just play card win. And if you want to try, there's so many decks that you can actually get going because you actually try and play.
That's exactly what I mean. You look at the Lucius at 30 HP and you're like, that can't work. So you never attempt it. The minute you see him at 35, you try it and you realize that it works. And the HP is definitely helping, but it would have worked without it. You just didn't try.
Yep.
That's a lot of players. That's upsetting. And
that was the deal with Perturabo, except backwards, where he was incredibly easy to play. And a small change was made, which made him just a little bit less energy efficient. Everyone stopped playing him. He's still good. He's still great. But he's not quite. He's not quite as brutal as he used to be, and everyone seems to have dropped him.
Well, I would say, it would be the same as dropping Lucius's HP, though, where it becomes a lot of the problems in the game that you need to react to have a very specific amount of HP, and it's 6. which is funny in hindsight. So Perturabo did lose some things, which is a shame. I also don't care because I don't know about you, but facing Allburn Perturabos every day nonstop.
It's too easy to play, really. I mean, for the rewards, like it's too much damage too quickly.
Hey man, I'm fine with easy decks. I just like the deck to be interesting. Like Titans. Can we talk about how since we may as well run some time? They're just getting Dai's Array on the Loyalist side, and that's it. Like the event reward, we've all seen it, right? At this point, the 2 event Titans, what they do.
I think I refresh my memory. I don't think I've even dipped into this event.
Okay, so we have a new Imperator coming for the Loyalists or a Psi Titan. I'll pull up the Psi Titan's abilities here in a second because they're unique and not in the game because they didn't actually put the Psi Titan in the event that unlocks him. I don't know why, but the Imperator Titan is just Dai's Array, but one of his shoulders is now deal 4 damage and stun a target.
Yeah.
And then his ability is give shield, can't act again. I don't remember what Dai's Array's ability is.
Dai's Array is give I think it's either 1 or 2 random units shield, random Titan arms. This one, you can give shield to anything, including your troops. And like for 10 energy, you'd be like, well, let's shield up. The whole thing gets shielded. Like, I mean, if you really want to. Yeah. It's a little much. You remember Magnus on release? This is, I mean, it doesn't cost Psyker, but it's pretty bonkers.
Yeah. And, I mean, and the reason, how do I phrase this? One of the reasons why Dai's Array doesn't work, besides the fact that he got nerfed hard, was the card pool of the Traitor Legion. It is too RNG focused. Awaken is not good. You don't want it. But they're putting him in the Loyalist faction. So all his inherent flaws simply caused by his faction are erased instantly.
And it sounds like he's designed to make Titan games even slower. Like he's incredibly well geared for that if he's got stun, as much shield as he likes, which sounds a bit exhausting.
It can be, especially if they get that that legendary on curve that also just like, relentless or resolution, give shield and heal. Like it can go long. Like I've had games so far in event where I've taken it out fine, and then I've had games where I've had to take it out like it's trudging piece by piece. If they get their shields and they just keep going, like it can go a long game.
And not to call it fast by any measures, the Traitor Legion card pool speeds up the game, but the Loyalists don't have that. They'll win through sheer slowness because they don't have the weapons that Sabras has, like this Imperator won't.
Yeah. Yep.
Man, I want to find exactly what it does. They have at least one ability or like one weapon where it's if you kill something, Oh, here it is. Okay, so it's give can attack to a non-warlord enemy until your next turn for 2E. They have the gun. People may remember it as the Tenebrae. It is now 2E siege. Deal 5 to 8 damage. If the target dies, refill 4 energy. It then has a Power Claw, that is 4 attack. After attacking, stun it, give itself can attack, 3, remove can. It's the same card we all know and love. Then it has Shoulder Missiles, which is deal 1 damage to all enemies. I mean, it's not that exciting, but at least the gun's cool. I think the gun's really neat, where you'll refill 4 energy if you kill something. So you're discounting it. But we won't get him. We have a 0% chance to get him at this point.
You know when you can get him? When we get another expansion down the road that gives us Titan 5th Warlords.
You make a good point, but I feel like he'll still somehow be ignored.
It's possible, but I'm not
going to... We'll lose him like Marisor all over
because I'm also not, like, caring about Titans. I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't really care about them.
My problem is I like the Psi Titan because they're neat. So when I see a Psi Titan being added to the game, I'm like, that's great.
Like it's a very unique design. That's great, but I'm not like, oh man, I can't wait to play the Titans. Like, I cannot wait to not play Titans.
I don't like playing Titans.
Yeah.
The only time I'll play the Titans is when we get the Traitor ones because there's an Iconoclast in there. I like the idea of just hitting people with a sword as a Titan because it's goofy. The idea of melee combat in Titans is the dumbest thing. It's the rule of cool cranked up to 11 because they move so fucking slow. The idea that they're actually going to melee something blows my mind.
Right. The wind up that happens, you're like, okay, they're winding up for the punch.
Like, don't get me wrong. If someone showed me like 2 Titans having a melee fight, You would have to speed it up a bit so I could keep my attention span, but it would look awesome. You would just then realize that these guys are slowly swinging like a school bus at each other for swords. But yeah, no, there's really, this event is, it feels like a filler event, and we're determining a fourth warlord, so take that as you will.
Mm-hmm.
And it has the Ron Diaz problem all over again, where in order to get the warlord you want, if you want to actually play them in the event, you are actively playing against getting that warlord.
Yeah.
Which I had hoped EG would do less of. This event really should have been Loyalist and Chaos Titan, and whichever wins gets that one first.
I would have been okay with
whoever
that.
Loses,
yeah, that would have been
and
a
whoever
good
loses
approach.
would get another option.
Mhm.
Because that way, it's you get these two new warlords you've never seen. You get to play them on each side. Arguably, the better one will be what wins, and the worst one will be given another option down the line when their faction rolls around.
Right, exactly. Yep.
That makes sense to me. But no, instead we got this, which, you know, I expected it because this is classic HHL. We've done this a dozen times before. We got Diaz over OG Ron for this exact reason. Not to say anyone really cared, because Diaz was just destined for the game. It was AL in favor of Ron against Imperial Fist.
I still can't bear running into Diaz. A late game Diaz just adding, fortifying everything automatically and coming back from free health. It's my least favorite matchup. Just because it's just boring. It's just boring to play the same game over again. I think it's turn 1 ability, turn 2 the little frontliner with free health.
Yeah, it's Kestros, and then it's counterattack on said turret that's produced by Kestros.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah, of course. It's so monotonous. But do you think with this like more recent patch, because I mean I'm comparatively very very new to the game. Do you think this is maybe a little bit of like sort of the attention of the developers is just moving on to Warpforge, and this is kind of like a B team patch?
Here's the thing: they have been quoted as saying that there's a separate team working on Warpforge. Like, support is trickling down to be slower, but there's still people here. I just feel like this was just them shooting their shot and just missing the target.
Yeah, because maybe they wanted a rework rather than a buff or a nerf for Dark Angels, and it's just not quite impactful enough to feel like a new take on the faction.
I've advocated for faction reworks before, because there are certain factions that just deserve to be reworked. I don't think the Dark Angels need a rework.
No.
A few stat changes here and there, but I don't think I like their wing mechanic. It fits the faction.
I think they're very they just work right.
They're solid.
Yeah, in the same way that the Ultramarines,
they just function.
They just do what they want to do. You know,
they have their unique mechanic, but their mechanic isn't something that really needs to be built around unless you're doing like specific combos with wings. This is a Death Wing. That's all I need to know. A Death Wing has frontline. This is a Dread Wing. A Dread Wing deals damage. This is a Raven Wing. They're a bike. So with that knowledge, you can do some fun things. Oh well. I guess this week in HHL history, nothing happened.
That's probably just a fair assessment.
Yeah, that's
It's not great to have to make that assessment, but I don't know what else to say. So I guess that's our take on it.
That's the take on it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, what are you guys else been up to? What are you looking forward to? What's going on? Summer's almost over.
Summer is almost over, and that kind of sucks. I guess I'm looking forward to a game from my early childhood. Destroy All Humans 2 is getting remastered.
Oh, fantastic.
And the remasters are actually really high quality because they remade the first one, where they just took the game and they remade it from the ground up. And they redid all the voice lines, like they took the original ones and they upscaled it. They're actually, the first one was amazingly done, so the second one's great. I don't know if anyone's played those games before, the Destroy All Humans. They're great little arcadey games. You play as an alien that just fucks shit up.
It's a video game version of Mars Attacks, which is one of my all-time favorite films.
Yeah, pretty much. And besides that, I'm still doing my D&D thing. Currently just bullying the players with Van Richten's Guide to Ravenlofts, which... new DMs out there, if you want to add horror to your campaign, introduce any of the creatures from Van Richten's Guide. They're either bullshit and highly specific, half of them will just insta-kill players when they down them, and others apply, bleed damage. Nothing says tension than your head was cut off instantly by a Dullahan. Great Well, what are you doing, Blind? What are you doing in your free time?
Well, I'm trying not to slow roast myself every time I go outside. I'm very much looking forward to Dark Tide. I think that's shaping up really nicely, which is a sort of Left 4 Dead style game set in the 40k universe.
Yeah, it's like Vermintide, but Dark Tide is
with guns and ogrins, which is can only be an improvement, which is hard to do because Vermintide was excellent as well. In Horus Heresy, I'm enjoying a little Reddit tournament at the moment, which I still haven't been kicked out of, which I'm very pleased. But every game, I'm on the verge of getting my ass handed to me, and I'm managed
by our lovely Dorn Stash.
Yeah, and manage very well as well. I really like it. No warlords that appear in the meta report, and so you see some really interesting builds. And then Horus Heresy wise, I'm waiting on the Mechanicus mission to crop up so I can stick it in my White Scars decks, which I'm very excited about. And hopefully that's going to work nicely.
Well, that's fair.
All right. Well,
that's all our pieces.
Do you guys have anything you'd like to plug?
I'm going to do the usual. I'll plug my boy Dorn. That's Drew Lee Clark on Instagram. He does art. He does commissions. He does these great little Matchbox things. They're great little art pieces. Good buddy of mine. He's the man who's doing the subreddit tournament, which is still ongoing, and maybe we'll get more in the future. So I'll also plug the subreddit tournaments.
Well, I'll definitely check that out. I do a bit of writing. If you guys are interested in non-fiction articles, look up Jonathan Fairbank, which is FIRBANK, and Think magazine. Recently written a little bit on the war in Ukraine, and the big dream is that one of these days I'll be able to write something about Warhammer without getting immediately sued. But that's a bit of a pipe dream at the moment.
You're asking for a lot there.
Yeah, that's a lot.
GW's got a firing squad of lawyers ready to sue whatever they see pop up.
I think I'd get about 2 sentences into Microsoft Word before I disappeared from the face of the earth.
They already know. They've just the fact that you've said it, they've got you.
Yeah, they've already clocked you.
Yeah.
They're like Minority Report.
Yeah, they've got staff that just float in think tanks and call out names.
Predict.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to plug deck slots as I am wont to do. If you haven't already, check out the Straight Outta Deck Slots album that's over on YouTube. It's nominated for Horus Heresy Legion's Album of the Year already. Can you believe it?
Did you see someone get angry at you the other day for making that?
No, but that sounds...
Someone got really upset, and I don't know why.
They got upset because they're like, how dare somebody have some sort of creative output on making content? It's crazy.
Having too much fun.
Yes, how dare we? Also, I'm going to go ahead and plug again. By the time you hear this, you probably have got about 12 days left to get your predictions in, place your bets for the Horus Heresy Legion's World Cup. For the top 8 finalists, list them in order 1 through 8, who you think is going to take 1st through 8th at the end of the tournament. And the winners who score the highest out of that, the top 3 are going to win promo codes worth 1,000 gold. So it's a very easy contest to do. All you have to do is check out who's playing in the World Cup, make your picks, and send them to me, and then that's it. Just wait and root and support the people that you bet on. You don't actually have to bet anything. You're just making picks. It's really easy. So, need some gold? Got gold to give away. Other than that, I think by the time next week we're doing Barnett Legions, so I'd like to do that again monthly. It's been a very busy summer. I'm still trying to work through things, still trying to get stuff on a regular basis, aside from the scheduled content that I do with the videos and the podcast here. But I appreciate everybody who's been tuning in and checking things out and supporting it. So keep it up, and hopefully we can keep bringing you some good stuff. That's it for me.
That's fair.
All right. Well, Blind, thank you for joining us. I know that you're across the way and the time zones are a little different, but I wish the discussion was a little bit more positive. We had better things to talk about than a balance patch that we've kind of been soured on. But sometimes
it's a weird patch, and we got to talk about fond memories of 3rd edition Warhammer first.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
I think that There's a great balance there. But thanks very much for having me on. It's been a lot of fun.
Excellent.
There's always next time. Maybe we'll actually get a good balance patch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of these days.
Well, next week I think we're going to be having
Team
2/3 of Team USA. Virgil of the 13th will be joining us, and we'll be talking.
I was going to say, by default, we have 1/3 of Team USA.
Yes, that's right. Now we're going to up it to 2/3. We're going to double the thirds. But the next couple weeks, I think we're going to go. Yeah, we're going to have Team USA, and I believe Team Serbia Finland is going to be on the following week. So that should be some good fun. We'll be talking about World Cup, how that has been for the players, what kind of experience it's been, and also whatever topics we've got on the agenda.
We have to ask Creed what the fuck was his picks.
Yeah, I don't know if he's changed them. Like, he's just sticking with
I
them.
hope he hasn't.
He's like, you know what? Nobody expects this.
I think I put it best to him. Your picks astound me. Don't change them. They're perfect. Because I really can only say that. They're just perfect.
Unlike this balance patch. I'm going to leave it on that, guys. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
A magnificent ending.
This has been another episode of the Warp Chatter Podcast. Thank you for listening.
Yes. Yes. Shh. It's over. Don't fight it.